Howdy, y'all. It is Monday, April 6th. It is about 3:40 in the afternoon, and I have finished grading all of our week 4 work. Woohoo. So there's rubrics waiting for you, there's feedback waiting for you. A couple of things I want to point out. APA wise, always double spaced. I had a couple of people have the same issues with this. APA, any paper you do in APA is always going to be double spaced, okay? That's not even a question, debate, discuss. APA, always double spaced. Another thing with APA, both in the paper and on the reference page, if there is more than one author, you always cite both authors. You don't ever refer to Teaching with Vision and only mention Sleater because that name comes first. You always have to mention both authors. That goes all the way up to, I believe, 5 authors. I think at 5, after you've written them all out, you're allowed to do at all after you've done it once. But guys, in general, you always cite all the authors. Another thing I want to share, this is another issue I saw, was that anything you refer to that has been published, such as Gardner, a couple people brought in Howard Gardner into their work, Multiple Intelligences, but didn't cite him on the reference page. Anything that has been published, whether it's formally in a book, whether it's formally in an academic journal, or whether it's up on the internet, if you mention it, you must cite it on the reference page section if it's a short paper like ours were. Here's another thing. I am pretty sure that a couple people didn't actually look at the rubric because there were a couple holes in the papers. Now I'm sharing this with you specifically so you understand why you always look at the rubrics. If there is a rubric provided, always look at it. Not only because it will well-written rubric will specifically tell you what must be in the paper, which, yeah, directions usually do that too, but here's the difference with a rubric. The rubric usually gives you a stronger understanding of how those individual pieces fit together. Whether it's the individual breakouts that go across or whether it's the way it's written into the criterion, such as the concept map or the chart or however the visual you added. A couple people did it differently and that was cool. That was so key for one of the questions that was asked. Of the 4 questions that were broken out that needed to be responded to in your paper, one specifically was correlated to that visual to ensure that you were looking at how to handle your issue from a bigger perspective than just, okay, I got to have 2 things to put in my paper, but it gave you another opportunity to be mindful from a very visual perspective. Now, several people missed it. Several people didn't include it. And my guess is that it didn't get included because you didn't really look at the rubric. Now, again, that was in the directions, but the directions didn't give you a why. Why is this meaningful? Why are you doing this? Whereas if you looked at the rubric, you got a better understanding of why. What did it serve in the paper? So please, not just for this class, but in every class going forward and wherever you go out and when you do your own rubrics for your own students, please, guys, and say this to your students too, I'm begging you on bended knee, if there is a rubric, please always go through it. Don't ever make the assumption that, well, I've read through the directions, I know how to do one of these. Please don't do that to yourself. You're skipping out on your own opportunities to be that much more mindful in your work. Okay, so this is not me in any way, shape, or form going, "Arr, arr, arr." This is me going, Please don't do that to yourself, okay? You guys are such busy adults. I get it. But I'm telling you, rubrics really do offer us, both as teachers and as students, another way to really understand what we're doing and be that much more mindful in our work. So, with that said, let me jump to the lesson study. I was able to pop in and just talk and answer a few quick questions for every group met. I know there were a couple of people who missed their group meeting. It is your responsibility to find out what you missed, guys. And I know from the conversations that took place, there was some great work that went on. I got feedback afterwards. I got a couple more clarifying questions, which tells me that you had some really great discussions. I applaud the effort you're putting in. What you're doing truly does empower you to not only get the most out of this initial lesson study experience, but to be able to take it out into the real world. I do lesson studies every now and then with my peers here at Brandman. I really do. And every time I bring it up, people are like, oh, I don't have time. And then I'm like, come on, it's worth it. You know it's worth it. And after we do it, they always agree. Yep, it was worth it. I never would have seen this that way. Thank you. Thank you for being so annoying. And I say, you're welcome. There was one last thing that I really wanted to mention, and now wrapping it up. I remember what I wanted to mention. In the threaded discussions, I am truly seeing scaffolding and synthesis of everything we have done thus far. And I applaud that, and I want more of it because I'm a greedy person. But I'm pushing every individual for more inquiry. More inquiry. We are reaching a point in the class where what tends to happen is, because you've now got several weeks of really engaging with this stuff and thinking about it and shredding it, what tends to happen is people have a sense of, well, I've already got the answer to this. We talked about it in week 1. Or I know what to do with this. We talked about it in week 3. Please don't fall into that trap. It's a very common professional blind spot. Okay? It's like when I gave my father the physician's desktop reference book, and for the next 9 months, if you coughed, he would diagnose you, right? A little information can be very dangerous. We now have a much stronger base of understanding of differentiated instruction than when we started, but it is by no means complete. Even the people who've been doing this really well in their classrooms, there is still more to learn. I continue to learn right along with you, which is why I'm begging you, when you go out to find other resources to bring in, don't just bring in stuff you already know. Give yourself 20 minutes to go find something new that you could use. Because by being open to our own inquiry, we can discover more about the things we do know than we ever would have realized were possible by only focusing on that which we already know. Inquiry, inquiry, inquiry. Ask questions of yourselves. This is what I do in the classroom, blah, blah, blah. This has worked really well. Why has it worked so well? What more could I do? What would happen if I switched it up? Open yourself up to your own sense of inquiry. There are several people who've gone several weeks without asking a single question. Give yourself that permission to ask a question. If you don't see a question mark, stop yourself and go back and ask a question. Why am I feeling this way? How did I get to that point? Where did that initial understanding come from? Wait, this has always worked so well. What would happen if I changed it up? Open yourself up to more inquiry. Because if you don't do it here, there's no way you're going to be able to do it in the real world, because you'll be too busy and you'll be thinking about too many things. You'll be dealing with so many people and okay? That's reality. Start practicing it here so you can take it out in the real world. All right. I'm an email away if there's any drama. or chocolate. Okay, have a great week. Happy week 5. Bye.